our lovely 5D Mystic stories, voices, perspectives. Your lovely host here has another episode. This one's going to be our extended, and you can look forward to seeing a mix of shorts and longer version episodes where we just chit chat about the inner child adult, which is what the 5D collective here at IHP is all about. And that's because we don't own words. And I get to support people who want to be empowered, personal development, self-help. And so you take your emotions and thoughts seriously, and you do know that they're not irrefutable facts. Now, I'm attachment trauma informed the past 3 years and so on, and it's going to keep growing. I got to add to my information bank. I'm also a Reiki master, and I'm an Akashic record reader, and I'm a tarot card reader, but I'm a 5D mystic, not 4D. And there is a difference, and I will be making sure to share with you the differences are not hierarchical. Remember, for the solo polyamory crew, we don't do hierarchy, and as a human, I just don't do hierarchy. But I can explain it in a number of ways with the fact that relationship anarchy is a motto for those of us who do love more than one person in a non-conventional friendship way and who know that love is infinite. So again, I also know of how those who lack education, well, they think apparently that women or men or theys will feel ashamed somehow of finding out that men or women or theys can fuck you the second later they've done that, feel contempt, disgust, and shame. And somehow they're not aware of what that means to a brain of a person who's assimilated a good portion of information and has healthy self-worth. Wow, that person needs a therapist now, not tomorrow, because they are on a hypersexual, whatever it is they're doing. Maybe it's borderline, maybe it's not. We can't do the armchair diagnoses. We don't want to, because that would be a person who's a martyr superior who's trying to tell another person what to do with their life. That's not our job, and we're also not the official good therapist. Okay, so the good therapist will say, okay, we can get out of hell, because that's what a shame cycle is. And the out of hell means that you walk out of it. So the heartbreak, gut wrench, torn apart, shame, blame, fault, revenge cycle that people have is not pure evil, even though there are those who want to use those words. So I'm going to use Michael Stone's forensic criminologist scale of all that which is evil ends up in prison, or they end up basically Pinocchio with the wooden body and in Stromboli's theater. And that's where spiritual bypassers, mantles of mental health, mantles of yoga, mantles of anything. So people who lack the education, they think that demons come out of you because of yoga. They think that New Age spirituality is bullshit. So yeah, a lot of people use words in different ways where I'm like, wow, you're just taking one side of a coin, which is I agree with these groups of educators and fads and what to do or not to do, and those no. So anytime you're talking about a subject matter, basically a concept, to an actual human being brain, it's going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. And I say actual because mine is an integrated brain. Non-integrated brain, we got a brain that uses only the left, and then when the right comes up, it's not being managed. Yeah. So here's where I'm going to pause for a minute and remind my lovely viewers, listeners, subscribers, please subscribe, share. For those who will be part of our 5D collective, the inner child adult, it's a 3-year-old with a 1-year-old who doesn't need your thumbs up or thumbs down. That's for teenagers who are on Elsa's journey, and they're just as equally Pinocchios. Okay, so when you see Elsa's journey, people, you're gonna know they're doing fad. It's a very clear. Okay, so they pick a side, and then they're basically not noticing that the way that they use their words make us realize what side they're on. And it reminds me of the study of the 14-month-old, because see, it's in our genetics, I think is what some people would use. Or wait, no, mammalian heritage. Yeah, 50,000 plus years, I think it was what Daniel Siegel. Oh, I learned from Dr. Daniel Siegel, Basil Vanderkolk, Stephen Porges, Peter Levine, Diane Heller, Deb Dana, excuse me. What else we got? We got Somatopia, Dr. Albert Wong with Sue Martin. I got a bunch of teachers. I don't know all their names. Chris from my Awakened Embodied Certificate program. I know I'm forgetting people. Well, I learned from Patrick Tiahan with his community online. He's awesome for childhood trauma survivors who actually want to heal They won't like him, the ones who don't want to heal. They justify their trauma bonding experiences. So they justify being a Pinocchio with a wooden body and then being in the theater with the Stromboli, who in fact will whip him. And then Pinocchio, though, in this case, like, oh yeah, keep whipping me. Keep on doing that. I'm having a good time. It is what it is. So while 4D, they perceive and say that's pure evil, or 3D for that matter. 5D is like, oh shit, we got a shame cycle. They're going to feel contempt, disgust, and everything towards themselves. And another, they're going to flip back and forth. Shit, is that split thinking or black and white? They really need to go get a good therapist. Like Dr. Daniel Fox, who shares how personality disorders are not a choice. You can work with the maladaptive child behavior and or adaptive child behavior. So yes, there is a choice. There is a small bit of choice. That's that free will. But you have been determined, thank you, Robert Sapolsky, because those first 3 years of your life are all implicit. There's no, I mean, by the second year, and I did a boo-boo, because by the second year, I will always make boo-boos, by the way, meaning that I misspeak at times. So if you want to come and correct me, you can do so, but I already know I'm going to. And that's why I tell you, I'm pseudoscience lady. And so, yeah, anybody who's going to actually go and pick on a word like that, I'm going to be like, okay, wow. I'm going to say thank you so much for picking at it. I will remember that I will fuck it up again at some other point because I'm not trying to make it linear. But thank you so much. I appreciate that you noticed the inconsistency of my consistent imperfection and that I try to make sure you understand. The thing is, I was, as a teenager, a black and white thinker because that's what we all are, FYI. As our brains develop, the adolescent brain actually develops and gets out of that. And so people say, so you've changed. No, I'm just accepting softly that I'm perfectly imperfect. And that's because I have a mother who said, you can't get it always right. And I was like, you know what, you're right. And she really honed it in when she said, what are you going to do? Kill yourself? And the minute she said that, I'm like, no, what the fuck? No. And I was like, life means everything to me. I don't want to die because of being imperfect. So that's how you learn how to not give a shit about typos and a lot more. I'm serious. And I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it either. I do understand why the old generation thinks that the newer generation are stupid and that we're all ignorant. And then they go online and make these comments. How dare they not have a spell checker? Do you know that the spell checkers get shit wrong, by the way? I've had it before where I'm like, that's wrong. And I'm not the grammar expert. Okay, so when you're an inner child adult, here's what happens. You got a good time, you choose love, you live it. You're not Pinocchio with the wooden body. And yeah, so we're not fooled. And now I totally lost my train of thought because I'm thinking about all these people out there. Okay, so let me get back on track with what a true life partner is. It's a someone who doesn't have blinders on. That's for sure. They need to have mental and emotional blinders. No, the absence of the blinders, excuse me. And so they never look up to anyone. Thank you, Sadhguru. Never look down on anyone. And when you see all the way they are, we can see donkeys from a mile away. And then we can see when they're wearing a superhero cape. And then we can see all the rest of the donkeys that are following them. But those are the Pinocchios. And now I'm getting really, I'm going to have fun with these stories. Show yourself. I'm dying to meet you. And these are the new stories. Here, come on over. Because see, this is an inner child adult. Could I not use better stories? I love these stories. Okay, and you know what happens when people come over to Ursula? I'm not Ursula, but I am Ursula to some people. But I'm not. And so what Ursula would do is what the Strombolis of the world do, which is come and give me all your money. I'm going to make you amazing. Oh, that's what an Ursula will do. And there's, on that note, okay, I need to organize myself. I'm not going to make any sense. Okay, let me finish. So when you see all the way they are, ooh, lady, you shall navigate life effectively. Yes, Sadhguru, thank you so much. So Sadhguru doesn't know psychoeducation. I do. And thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel. This is the only reason I know as well as I do. All of them. Okay, so in order, Somatopia, Awakened Embodied Certificate, Dr. Daniel Siegel. And everything NICABM, because I've taken a buttload with their subscription-based model content, which then they got rid of, but that's okay. I have a bunch of courses to continue with them. Okay, and life partnership. We're going to use Dr. Daniel Siegel's story because he has a great one of him So the beginner's mind is when you can be in your prefrontal cortex, and protecting the future means you know it's made of humans, not monsters. Oh man. So when I heard about the meat eaters, I don't know who was interviewing what person of what status, and they talked about these meat eaters, and I'm like, what the fuck is this word? And then I have some smart people in my life, thank goodness. They help me understand what these buzzwords are, because I'm like, what is this? Now I know the real science. So the reptilian nervous system, we all have this reptilian nervous system, poor nervous system. It's okay. So our modulated embodied self uses our sympathetic fight flight. And when people are not able to be their own life, well, it's a shit show for their body. It goes, and that's why I'm not going to share that. Okay, I need to stop right now. Bear with me. I'm channeling, and I'm not going to be sharing this piece of information because it's not necessary. The 4D collective. They're on Elsa's journey with mantles and Pinocchios and Strombolis, and I have this entire thing going on right now with Ursula's, and so please bear with me. I don't always do this, but my imagination has just taken the best of me. So, when you choose love, it's because you choose it here and you don't feel ashamed of being flawed and imperfect. Raise your hand if you're okay with making grammatical mistakes, no matter how much you hate it. Oh, yeah. So hate is a strong word. I shouldn't use that one. And shouldn't activates your sympathetic, but it doesn't mind. But I want to say I'm aware of not wanting to use the word hate, although I have used it. And people who like to think that things are set in stone will remind you of moments in time as if they are still a part of you, while they're a part of your past, but they're a verb, so they're soft. And that's why Consciousness and Change, my recent course with lovely Daniel Siegel, explains why I am consistently feeling always Maria, while others who take moments of my time, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, right, and they present it to me like a noun, so rigidly, I feel that they're presenting it to me as if it's fixed in stone. I'm like, I'm not a piece of stone. I'm a piece of consciousness. I'm a piece of life. I, the body, with the brain, all of it, okay? So when you are I am presence, what I'm sharing is a description of how I feel because I'm consistently expanding. And when someone says this is what you are, I say, no, this is not what I am. And I know I haven't changed the essence of life and love. And anyone who wants to get here can get here. The ones who have personality disorders, they don't choose their personality disorder. They can minimize their maladaptive child behavior patterns to get out of suffering, by the way, and then to create a life with life partners. That's with their self-awareness, though. Awareness, accountability, and then the motivation to regulate and to minimize all of that which comes up, thoughts and emotions that feel like irrefutable facts. And so for personality disorders, their active participation is necessary. For people who lock themselves into shame cycles, also their participation is necessary if they want to move into inner well-being. As long as they don't, we have a forensic criminologist. He is called Michael Stone, and he has a scale of 1 to 22 or 1 to 24. They all end up in prison, and they all need good therapy. The ones who are navigating with donkeys and mantles and all that, I see them, they're called groups. And they remind me of the 14-month-old who plays nice with the teddy bear that likes the same cereal. There's karma, people who do karma, and that's their inner child. As a teenager, though, who is the adaptive child, who is in fact unforgiving and perfectionist. And so the unforgiving perfectionist human being brain uses the left mode alone. The right mode only brings up the shame, blame, fault, and revenge, the inner critic and outer critic, which is going to then do the let me go fuck, do drugs, do alcohol, or do shopaholic, whatever it is that self-soothing mechanism, and whatever combination, because there's a bunch of different ones. It's not, again, good or bad. There's a human suffering love narrative group actively wanting to stay with laundry in their body. I'm just going to share it. And I say wanting, it's because they tell us that we have a lack of imagination for evil. I say they have a lack of education for the attachment and trauma research, but they don't believe in it. So they believe in the archetypes alone, and storytelling is great and dandy until it's not. So what I've noticed is spiritual bypassers, mantles of mental health, the savior complex people, all the ones who are unhealed, yes, they have this thing called the fourth step to trauma recovery, because trauma can be trauma charge, can be a big trauma, small trauma, it can be childhood developmental trauma. Okay, so trauma as a word has a lot of different other things, and I'm not going to explain it all because that's not what we're here for. We're here for food for thought. When you do one-to-one mentorship, that's something different. We talk, but the data that I've learned, I integrate it in stuff, and then I will integrate it in books, but I'm not here to be the explanatory person. That's where you can say, what courses did you take? Where's the material? I'll gladly send you to it because there's a bunch of it, okay? The ones who say, I found it hard to believe, the first 3 years of life, well, you find it hard to believe, yeah, I'm not going to be the regurgitation for you. That's not my interest at all. And the fact that you present to me that makes me know that you are deflecting immediately information that is giving you eyes to see within your own body. I'm not going to spend time with Pinocchio with a wooden body too much. I'm going to spend enough time to say, sure, yeah, whatever. Keep following Stromboli and do your shit. I'm not interested. Your brain already tells me everything because your attitude tells me. Because, see, when somebody presents to me something, I can have an attitude, but I'm hearing them. The reason they think I'm not hearing them is because I have my own opinion about it. And that's when you know you got a self that's an adaptive child who wants you to take their side, which is a person who's a teenager saying, how dare you tell my 3-year-old and 1-year-old that it's not true. And that's the whole part of when we have the capacity, I do, to be in Krishna Lila and get curious, because now I'm wondering what your perspective is, because you took it really personally, or whatever you're doing about what this was. It was a conversation. Okay, so you know people who won't grow up into inner child adults and those who will grow up into inner child adults. Okay, so the life partnership is a person who is open to their self, FYI. Otherwise, they're not, at least for our 5D collective, our community is all about 5D. It's called Christ consciousness. It's people who respect, accept, and love unconditionally us and all humans, and we do not lack the imagination for evil. We actually have, I do your host, education, and it's not evil in the way of those religious and philosophical texts. If there's anything that we will say again and again and again, and I will, it's Michael Stone, forensic criminologist. They all need good therapists. I surround them all with my magical baton. And as for donkeys with superhero capes, they get followed by others who think they're also with superhero capes, and they have their beliefs, and we leave it alone. Because, as Sadhguru shares, we're not here to affect states of consciousness, and it's not because of a invisible hand that's going to come do anything. I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, and I'm a person who uses my brain, and I'll share it with you humanly speaking. It's because I have an ego self, and so do you. And what does a 1-year-old and 3-year-old and a 16-year-old that has no owner do when you say, you know what, I spy with my little eye this inconsistency and this inconsistency. And so the minute that you have somebody on a pedestal or beneath you, let's read again to Sadhguru, never look up to anyone, never look down on anyone. When you see all the way they are, you shall navigate life effectively. So an inner child adult, I'm not putting you on a pedestal. I ain't putting you beneath me. I have no shame. Don't you know what that means? I'm using my prefrontal cortex and I'm looking in your eyes and you're not making me feel small. The minute you begin to look down upon me, I know what I have in front of me. It's called a grandiose human being who feels small inside. And to feel big, you need to look at me. And I'm going to begin doing this thing called, it's not evil, it's therapy. Time for Patrick Teahan, time for childhood trauma survivor, healed and healing therapists to come in and let people know about the torture. Oh, wait, how about the emotional lazy cowardice who don't go and get good therapy? And they continue to perpetuate transgenerational trauma, cultural trauma. Let's get those ones with those superhero capes to notice their squirrel attitude from Cusco land. Martyrs, superiors, blamers, codependent. Come on in. All of you, come on in. Let's put you right here in a line. All the low self-esteem individuals who are martyrs, superiors, blamers, they have passive-aggressive manners, they are indirect communicators, they consistently lie like Cusco, and they think that they're badass somewhere. And that's not lack of imagination for evil. It doesn't exist in the brain of a smart human being who knows about trauma and then knows about how you can use the dark sides of neuroplasticity to wire yourself shut in, armor yourself. I learned this from one of my courses because of continuing to shove back down that shame instead of dealing with it. And that is not something funny for a piece of pure consciousness to see, to witness. When you witness a human being, and it's happened more than once, become what they are not, it will break your heart. This is the part. It's not the lack of, this is not a story. This is a human who you will have seen consistently lack the capacity to get their ass up and go to therapy because they don't have any herd members, by the way, that have, oh, they have a herd member. Yeah. The ones who believe in devils and demons and say that people sell their souls, sure, that's a great story. Or others who want to think, again, that I can speak in your face and tell you stuff when you're delusional and consistently showing it, and in different ways. So my point is that the ones of us who are educated know what, one, a personality disorder is not to be demonized or romanticized. It's also not to be thought that you can do anything if a person's not aware of their maladaptive or adaptive child behavior. So shame, blame, fault, revenge cycles. To the smaller, bigger degree, it is indifferent. It doesn't matter which side of the coin it is. What do you want to bring to me? I know all about all of it. And so it's a different range of aspects that the 3-year-old didn't choose any of this, nor did the 8-year-old teenager thinks they know shit, and they don't know shit about anything, but, again, found it hard to believe. So when you disengage and disregard going to therapy and don't have people who are educated, but they throw stones at you or they support you. So supporting a person's mannerisms, this one is a very intricate topic. So let me first conclude with, love doesn't mean I tell you what you want to hear, but it doesn't mean I shame, blame, fault, or revenge you. Love means that I will speak to you with my ventral vagal state, because love is only going to happen when in your body you are clear to be a Jacob, by the way. That's your prefrontal cortex. So the rabbi that I learned this Jacob personality, Jacob's objective. Jacob doesn't do self or others. That's Isaac and Abraham. So here's where when we have a 14-month-old and our ancestors who pick what they like, decide the people, they play nice with the people who like what they like. Yeah, it's called karma in the world of our spirituality. Lovely. Thank you, Sadhguru. He doesn't know psych education. Okay, but we all can do karma action too. So it has more than one way that it gets used. In the 5D plane, there's no evil, Knievel, medieval. That's all for 4D. They keep talking about it like that. We leave it alone. And so living authentically and living aliveness, by the way, is because you're in your ventral vagal state, not in your sympathetic. You're not doing modulated embodied self. You're not doing pseudo aliveness, structural dissociation. So the time is when a person knows their emotions and thoughts are not irrefutable facts. They become aware of themselves and they are able to talk to people about anything and everything. And so you're choosing the true self, solo self, narrative self, relational self, core self, and you're getting out of shame. That means you're going to get home to love, and that's self-compassion. And you're going to begin to use this prefrontal cortex because you're learning how to integrate your left and your right, and you're being able to contain, though, what's in. And as it comes up, sensations, images, affects, meanings, behaviors, you're managing the behaviors, and you're managing the core content yourself, and you're getting out of inner child trauma, and you're reparenting. So reparenting is part of the journey before you become an inner child adult. If you have had big trauma, small trauma, trauma to an extent where you've noticed, I do a shame cycle thing, okay? The ones who don't, they armor themselves shut in because your body, and really what they say is it's pathways. And so when you're ruminating, that's what you're doing. You're going, your pathway, you're repeating. Your brain is an organ that doesn't notice positive or negative. I've talked to you about neuroplasticity. Let me grab that for a minute, actually. It's a good, you can find this infographic on NICABM right here, okay? That way you can see it, neuroplasticity. So the dark sides are this. Neuroplasticity means the brain is always learning, but the brain is neutral. It doesn't know the difference between good and bad. It learns whatever is repeated, both helpful and unhelpful thoughts, actions, and habits. Therefore, neuroplasticity may entrench depressive, anxious, obsessive, and overreactive patterns. And that's what I found it hard to believe. Yeah, you keep finding it hard to believe. So mindset is everything. And people who do know life and who do know educational material can understand, yes, some people will free will choose not to go to therapy. But if their herd doesn't point them in a direction in a way of not Like Dr. Daniel Fox says, that you can't, not in a way of criticizing. They don't choose their pattern of behavior. And you need to be able to present it. Doesn't mean that they're going to do anything about it either. But being able to have the presentation of the options is the capacity to know that you've been able to support someone or try to help them to see something. And then obviously them choosing the maladaptive pattern means that you're not going to be engaging in relationship. Okay, this is where we don't need to demonize or romanticize. A person who is a grown inner child adult is going to stand in a space of neutrality and duality. It's called unflappability. It's called secure attachment. It's called the true self of a person who's in their mammalian heritage of a restorative embodiment, integrated brain. And that's because of being able to have chosen again and again and again to sit with an open heart and stand with one and to speak to a person by looking at them in the eyes. And so I'm integrating a number of topics. You know this at this point. And I'm not making points when I come here. I share voices, stories, perspectives. You want to have one-to-one mentorship, you reach out by email and say, I want to get in a personal development mentorship program with you, Maria. How does it work? And I will share with you. As I have been deciding, I want those who are committed to themselves. So 12-month one-to-one mentorship. The masterclass I will evaluate. It will be probably at the very bare minimum a 6-month, but I'm not fond of short term. So I'm pretty sure I will want 12-month commitment. But again, I remain flexible. At the same time, I don't know, because I've seen enough people who maintain a Pinocchio attitude. And so while I do know that there are those who don't want to invest a long time. To me, if you don't invest towards yourself, you're not really serious about what I'm talking to you about. And so you can consume the free content. Plus, there's the Ask Maria subscription-based model content too. So there's ways you can get access to the same information. But if you want to do mentorship, I'd like to know that you're going to be committed to being all that you can be. I'm committed to helping you to get there. And I also know that it's hard for some people, like really hard. And that's why we want more people who can say, it's okay, we're going to work through your split thinking, black and white thinking, whatever your behavior and your attitude is, we can handle it. If you're aware of it, then you know how to get out of, for example, Dr. Daniel Fox was sharing how emptiness is part of borderline personality and jelloing. And they cover it up with like anger, because anger is a strong emotion, so it makes them feel not empty, not void. And the jelloing, though, that unfortunately instead is because they don't have the self of them, so they identify with someone and then they want to always be, and so there's this bringing them to pedestal and then down. And this is, though, very confusing because it's not happening from a place of a mature person. In fact, I understand when he's describing what's going on, because I have the 1-year-old in the forefront and the 3-year-old, and I can imagine as he's describing this. And then I'm a 5D mystic. Whenever I'm around anyone, those masculines are always going to be the person that is their left mode. And if you don't have your inner child all in the forefront, I'm picking up on your inner child, and that's it. So 5D won't be picking up anything of evil. If you have an armor, I'm going to notice, and then I'm going to feel really sad. Doesn't mean I'm going to hang out, because I don't speak donkey. But I'm not going to cast a stone and say that you're something that is not human. I won't dehumanize you. I will know what I'm dealing with, and it will make me want to cry. Like I'm going to if I keep talking about it. Because there is a way out. It's called good therapy, and it's called getting educated, and then it's called disengaging from stories that 3D, 4D is just too fond of, as they walk around with Pinocchio wooden bodies, and then they listen to donkeys and Stromboli, and then they also go around acting like squirrels from Cusco land. And then I think of Patrick Tiahan and Patrick McNamara, and I think of Dr. Daniel Siegel and Bezel van der Kolk, and I think of low self-esteem, indirect communicators, passive-aggressive, don't know boundaries, don't know anything about themselves, shame, blame, fault, revenge. What revenge? You're tortured inside. So yes, there's a lot that goes on out there in the world. I support people with personal development and self-help. I've chosen a long time ago that my journey would be to help people, and helping people to be you, your authentic you. It's beautiful. So you know what life partners know? They know how to be authentic. They know how to be open-hearted. They know how to say, I'm imperfect and I'm flawed and I can be a pain in the ass. But I know how to work with that. And it's not about changing you, although the ones who come out of shame and out of torture, so out of trauma, they'll feel changed, which is why that Sadhguru story of the compulsive thief, I've translated that one to my audio listeners. So I'll take some time to share that, and then I'll share another story, and then I'll let you go for the day. But actually, let's see if I have it on my phone. So the compulsive thief is a story that Sadhguru shares, and therefore it's spirituality focused. I have translated it to the shame cycle, which is when people are not aware that they have this so-called childhood trauma that they don't want to tend to. Here it is: How to Defeat a Thief, a Zen story. So you can look it up right here. Wait a minute. Let's see. Okay, whatever. You saw it. So it's on Sadhguru's website. How to Defeat a Thief, a Zen story. A compulsive thief is caught red-handed again and again. How to deal with him. 2 stories give us an insight into punishment, compassion, and human nature. Now, anybody who reads it without knowing about trauma, you dehumanize. So, yeah, sure, it's easy to talk about the story, but then to implement being the Zen master of you, and therefore also being able to stand up for a person who is basically being circled by so let me just try and share the story from what I remember. This thief consistently is thieving, and the Zen master finds that he's been circled by the people that are supposed to be learning to become wise, or Zen masters or whatever. So they're the disciples. They're his disciples. And they're circling the compulsive thief, and they're all trying to get him kicked out. So they tell the Zen master that they want him to kick out the thief. And the Zen master says, no, you must forgive him. And they say, no, he's thieved again. He's going to do it again. And he says, you must forgive him. And then they say, if you don't kick him out, we will leave. And he then repeats again, you must forgive him. And I don't know what they do, but essentially the story ends with, that they're trying to act like they're actually disciples, but they're not. The compulsive thief breaks down and cries, and he is healed. Okay, and that's why these stories don't suffice, I think is the right word. Let me translate with the human translator right now of neuroplasticity, this left and right mode, your first 3 years of life. So remember, your 0-1-year-old is attached, panicky. Your 3 to 7 3 to 7 shame, submissive. These are child parts that I learned from my teacher, Sue Martin, from my course in Somatopia trauma basic or trauma. I forget which one of the words it was, but then we got freeze of all ages. 11, 12 is flight, and then fight 14, 15, 16. We all have these charged parts, the bare minimum, as my teacher presented. Those who then have fragmentation and rupture from childhood developmental trauma, and so the ones who switch on and off with their sympathetic and dorsal vagal, and they didn't begin with secure attachment stuff. Very important, all of it. Okay, so the compulsive thief, you can call it the compulsive ruminating person who's sitting in temporal junction at the bare minimum, split thinking for borderline personality, or black and white thinking. I believe narcissism as well. So when they're working with the patterns of thought, they can help to minimize all of those maladaptive child patterns. So their behaviors that are not to be pathologized, as our lovely Janina Fisher presents, and anybody who's a good expert, they are to be understood, but they are to be taken ownership of by the person. Okay, that's why the story isn't enough. So the Zen master may have removed the pretenders, which are all 4D, 3D, any Pinocchio with wooden body, quote unquote. I'm saying when somebody tells me that they know love and they don't know how to be unconditionally loving, they don't know love yet. But I also understand that they might not know all of these aspects about being a human and about themselves. Okay, so again, remember, I will share my food for thought. These are not facts. These are food for thought. And I do like to share that every now and then because brains tend to forget that at times. And that's automatic. So you get to train yourself if you want to get out of, what is she saying? because that's the teenager with the 3-year-old, and so she's just talking out of her ass. It's fine. It's not out of my ass, but that's why pseudoscience lady again. Remember, woo woo. It's a way for you to be able, and remember that you are getting information. Social media is social media. If you want to be a person who's rigid, linear, then you go and read all those books, create your own bibliography, start writing your own book, and then join the academics though. Because if you're doing it as a personal individual, that's fine. We can all do that. I'm going to know which one is which. And there's only certain groups of people that are reputable quantitative, qualitative data analysis because they follow a system. And so anybody who's not in that system is not a person that I will hear the same way. And so I get to see what's your title. But as an informative academics, not any type of figure. Public figures don't count. I'm looking, are you still an academic? Are you still working with the board of I want to see that you are being held with that red tape that allows me to know that you're conducting what you're conducting in a specific way. If you're a private entity, I will take into consideration what you are doing. And so this is where flexible brains take all in consideration with an open mind, because that's what a smart brain does. So anybody who's a Pinocchio with flesh, we don't fall for strombolies. We don't fall for donkeys. We don't have ears coming out. We don't got a tail. We don't got anybody, there's no pedestal. So Zen master ain't a Zen master, meaning we're all Zen masters, but we won't discount what and where we're getting information from and for. So anyways, let me get to this story that I was trying to finish. When I can see a bunch of people who are spiritual bypassers, I will know who they are. And then when I can see a compulsive thief who is being drowned, but they don't know what they are, because see, again, a person doesn't know the self until they have their lens. If you have a personality disorder, knowing your lens is very important. You will not know about jelloing, about emptiness, about how you fill your days with maladaptive child behavior if nobody is able to present it to you. And if you don't have smart brains around you, which is what most people are not, they don't present to people that have specific types of behaviors these things. Now, there are times where instead there are. Raise your hand. And you get ignored. And that is where you leave it alone. You've shared a piece of information. If they want to take it, that's great. If they don't, you leave it alone, because that's the part of where healthy self-worth people are not out there sharing food for thought or having conversations to try and impose. Okay. But we know when we see ignorance of oneself. So we will go and grab the compulsive thief, and in the story, the compulsive thief shatters. But that is where, as I was saying, no, we can have somebody who can shatter and be thankful and grateful and be appreciative of what they received, and then continue the compulsive thief act. Obviously, in the story, he's done, and so that the shame cycle is how I'm going to bring it to you is healed, and we have a person who is now living a true spirituality life, a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. So they're going to be building secure attachment. They're going to get earned secure attachment. They're going to get their differentiated self. They're going to get to use their human name. They're going to go and do what we are all doing, okay, and support each other. Nobody wears a mantle, and it's the tone is going to give it away. Authentic self, those who are authentically healing and are representative of their healing, like the lovely narcissist lady. There's a lovely borderline personality person. There's a lovely psychopathy lady too. There are lovely channels that are destigmatizing and trying to say we are not embodiments of evil, but we have 4D and 3D, and people who lack education who do want to point to groups and say you are the embodiment of evil, and they're using the word like the philosophical and religious texts versus understanding that the word comes from those times and that it is not something that any person inherently has, but that yes, we have personality disorders and behaviors that come from them that are and have been consistently creating a situation, and that now we have attachment trauma researchers that can help us to understand, and so on and so forth. Okay. And to conclude, at a certain point, the compulsive thief that becomes their self, that's beautiful for a Zen master and all Zen masters, and therefore all people who overflow with their humanity to see. Because we know that day, and see, I get very emotional. We know that love in that moment is what took place, and that a person said, I want to save my inner child. And Patrick Tian, he's awesome. He's awesome with his community. So I don't know any childhood developmental trauma stuff. Okay, I know how to be my 1-year-old, and I know how lucky I am. And so, with that being said, to be yourself, I got to make it tangible because I got to understand the self thanks to all these lovely attachment trauma researchers. Jesus showed me the way, but the way is easy when it comes to faith, knowing how to explain it to people. I find it hard to believe that anything from my body means anything. And well, okay, you know what? Sayonara, dude. So the last story of the day is a true life partnership. Dr. Daniel Siegel, his partner, because he began 30 plus years ago what he is doing, and he got disappointed, demoralized, sad. It was very defeated. He saw all of people he worked with not wanting to actually help people, basically. So he's wanting to quit school. He's wanting to stop what he's doing because he feels he's not going to be doing what he wants to do to make a difference, to help people, actually, to help people to get better. And his life partner says to him, why quit? Make a difference in your field. And that's what he did. And he gets chased down hallways. You're awesome, Dr. Dan. So the people who are chasing him down the hallways, they're academics too. One of the stories, oh my God, that made me laugh. But I'm going to leave out the name because this is where the academics, they don't agree because they still find a lot of different data. That's why there's room for 3D40. I get that too because I am an academic. I just chose not to continue it because I like to help people, the ones who want to be their self. So again, inner child adults, we choose love. We live authentic as ourselves, right here. And that true self is your inner child adult. So all of your child parts not charged. You're having fun, a good time. You love people, and that's not, you're not friends with all people. And you know what life partnership is all about. We walk a walk and talk a talk, and we do it from the heart, and we want it always, not just sometimes. And so, if it's romance, then we have other things. Maybe we'll do another little episode for that one. We have other things going on, but in the meantime, life partners are people who support each other to feel safe haven, secure base in our world, which is changing. And so we want more 5D. I'm here for the 5D collective. In fact, I will do an episode. It'll be giving you a little bit of the differences between the 5D and 4D collective for my mystics. So you might be interested, you might not. It'll take place in a little while. I'll get this one uploaded first. And thank you for stopping by. Like, share, subscribe, ask your questions. Remember, there's Ask Maria, opinionated columnist episodes. That's for audio alone for now. Once we get to 1K, it'll be our first membership option. And you can treat it like a Dear Abby, or if there's basically something for you or something that you just want it to be broken down a certain way, be specific, you email me. If you're curious about topics overall, you just want to hear my opinion, my food for thought, say, hey, I want to hear your opinion or food for thought for this one. That one is going to be something that I'll do whenever I get the chance. If you do want it long, let me know. If you have an idea of length, that's important because I could make it audio version alone at that point. Number 3, one-to-one mentorship, and then the master classes in the making. So that being said, again, thank you for stopping by. Have a great day.